Whatever we receive is a reflection of us.
Welcome. Welcome to part 3 of The Suppressed Feminine, the original story, the truth behind what is masculine and feminine. It's been a long journey, and I like to believe that no matter what, this information is highlighting to both masculine and feminine the need of remembrance, the need of unity within inside yourself, and the understanding and the connection of, yeah, that makes sense. So sit back and join me for part 3 about the Great Mother, the lost feminine, and the 12 archetypes. So we begin. Before patriarchy, the original feminine, long before patriarchal systems rose, civilizations around the world worshipped a single unified feminine source. This was the era of Paleolithic goddess cultures, spanning roughly 30,000 to 5,000 BCE. Archaeology reveals their devotion. Feminine figures have been carved in stone, serpent symbolism weaving through myths, womb imagery and lunar calendars, death and rebirth rituals, societies grounded in mother, in earth and harmony. The feminine was not simply women. It was a creative structure of reality itself, the force that shaped life, death and cosmos. You see, the rise of early patriarchy around 4,000 to 3,000 BCE made the world change. Proto-Indo-European warrior cultures emerged. Early Semitic hierarchical regions and religions took shape. An agricultural surplus brought ownership, inheritance, and centralized control. The feminine henceforth was then fragmented. The creatrix became a wife of a male god nonetheless. Death goddesses were demonized. Rebel feminine became evil spirits. Serpent goddesses became satanic figures. Wisdom feminine such as Sophia were erased. Dark feminine was forbidden. This is why many goddesses seem contradictory and fractured. They are pieces of a single original feminine principle torn apart across cultures. Therefore, the Great Mother replaced by he, male sky gods took the place of cosmic feminine principles. Yahweh replaced Asherah, Zeus replaced Gaia, Ra overshadowed Hathor, Odin overshadowed Freya, Indo-European storm gods replaced serpent mothers, and Brahma overshadowed Shakti. The masculine itself was not truly evil, but it did wield politically and centralized power and control. Feminine authority was then demonized, and we only need to look at the stories that we inherited. Lilith was demonized for refusing submission. Kali was labeled destructive even though she represents liberation. Nuwa was recast as a wife rather than cosmic engineer. Hela was made monstrous to inspire fear of shadow and death. Sophia was erased, leaving Western religion without its feminine half. These myths are not truths about evil. They are stories of suppression, fear, and misunderstanding. The hidden truths in symbols, even as the patriarchy tried to erase the feminine, its symbols never disappeared. Snakes, triangles and spirals, wombs carved in yoni imagery, black stones and moon cycles, weaving fate and the death and rebirth myths. All of these point back to the same original feminine principle, the creative, the intelligent, the eternal force that shaped the cosmos and life itself. And this also reminds me of, here in Australia, of Aboriginal art and how the symbols reflect this and Australia's cultural heritage. The role of women in Aboriginal art has also been under-recognized, with colonial narratives often portraying Aboriginal art as male-dominated domain. Aboriginal paintings are deeply intertwined with feminine cultural practices, particularly through ceremonies and the transmission of ancestral knowledge. These archetypes map the human conscious. And these are one of the most important pieces with these archetypes, these female archetypes, because the Great Mother is not external. She is the structure of human consciousness itself. The primordial feminine represents the subconscious, the deep mind, the non-linear, intuitive, emotional, creative, the symbolic, the shadow, the inner world, the unknown. She is the matrix inside the mind, not a prison, but a field of potential. The primordial masculine represents the conscious mind. Structure, direction, clarity, logic, action, choice, focus. The masculine isn't about domination. It's about witnessing and guiding the feminine field. Every human all contains 12 feminine archetypes internally. Each one corresponds to a specific layer of our psyche. The void is primal potential and stillness. Source is higher intelligence. Earth being body and grounding. The serpent is life force and evolution. The water represents emotion. Light is clarity and truth. The shadow is trauma and unconsciousness or unconscious. The rebel self is boundaries and sovereignty. The lover, embodiment, pleasure and attraction. Warrior is assertion and justice. Weaver is intuition, timeline, perception. And guide is transformation and rebirth cycles. When all of these are fragmented, the human itself is fragmented also. This is why modern humans suppress intuition, fear the shadow work, misunderstand sexuality, distrust emotion, and fear death. They reject pleasure and avoid sovereignty, lose connection to inner wisdom, because the ancient feminine blueprint inside them is broken. When these 12 aspects reunite, awakening happens. So, I had a thought when I was reading this that it's really strange. We have 12 main archetypes of the feminine culture. And what reference do they make? Because I made a correlation to the 12 strands of DNA. So the 12 strands of DNA accurately represent the 12 feminine archetypes. They are symbolic maps of what spiritual traditions call the 12 strands human DNA and the connection between them. Science recognizes the double helix, the two-stranded helix that we all have been taught. But ancient traditions such as the Kabbalah, Gnosticism, the Vedic texts, Taoist, Egyptian, and much more say that humans have physical DNA and energetic DNA, or spiritual, meaning 10 of them are non-physical and the other 2 are physical. They correspond to consciousness, memory, intuition, emotion, soul imprint, spiritual perception, and dimensional awareness. So, the 12 strands were never meant to be literal. They were symbolic descriptions of the 12 layers of the human consciousness, which matches perfectly with the 12 feminine archetypes. It is claimed that these dormant strands were severed in ancient times, possibly by extraterrestrial beings such as the Anunnaki, resulting in a reduction of human potential and a shift to a lower vibrational state. So I wonder this. If it isn't about lower vibration as such, but the removal of these feminine archetypes, which is why raising your vibration alone never really works. It follows this New Age idea, but is not the actual truth. Because if we have had that suppressed, we need to reawaken and basically jumpstart those strands to reconnect to us, If we raise our vibration, it is misinformation to us to say we are part spiritual, but it doesn't really do anything in the long run. But do these strands, these 10 physical or non-physical and 2 physical, what do they represent in line with the feminine archetype? Well, let's have a look. Strand 1, the physical reality. So Earth Mother archetype, which is your grounding, your body awareness, the things you can touch and see and all of that. Number 2, the emotional field, which is the water-based feminine. So your emotions, your feeling, your intuition. Strand number 3, your ego and identity. So this is the rebel feminine that creates boundaries and sovereignty. Strand 4 is heart and compassion, the lover feminine, which creates connection, sensuality, and embodiment. 5 is willpower, so the warrior feminine, personal strength and justice. 6 is the higher mind, so the solar-based feminines, truth, clarity, and knowing. 7 being shadow and unconscious, so the dark feminines, the trauma, the shadow integration, and shadow self. Strand 8 is soul memory, the weavers and the fate mothers, so the timelines, the destinies, the karmic patterns. 9 is the kundalini and the serpent fire, so the serpent mothers, evolutionary activation and life force energy. 10 is cosmic intelligence, so the Sophia, the divine wisdom of all. Strand 11 is ascension and higher self embodiments, so the Gaia, the underworld, the transformation, the rebirth. And strand 12 is pure potential and source code, which is the void mother, the unmanifest, the origin point. When all 12 are activated internally, the human becomes sovereign. This is why your intuition is firing questions. The 12 goddesses, the 12 DNA strands. They're basically 2 metaphors for the same truth. Interesting. So a complete human has 12 aspects of consciousness, but modern society only uses about 2 or 3. The matrix, or mental programming system, works because the other 9 to 10 layers are dormant, fragmented, or capped. Reactivating them isn't mystical, it's psychological, emotional, and spiritual integration. But why does the feminine represent the DNA field? Because the feminine principle across cosmologies represents creation, embodiment, birthing, intuitive perception, emotional depth, shadow, evolution, memory. These are the exact attributes stored in metaphysical DNA levels and layers. The masculine principle expresses direction, consciousness, witnessing, bringing order to the feminine field. We know they're the builders. So when both are balanced, the full 12 strands templates activate. The ancient cultures of old all knew this, but encoded it as myth. Every goddess system is actually describing human consciousness, human evolution and DNA memory, and the ascension pathway. Whether it's the Kabbalahs and their 10 Sephirot and 22 paths, Egypt's 14 parts of Osiris and 42 principles, the Vedic 7 chakras and 5 koshas, Norse 9 realms and 3 cosmic layers, or the Gnostics' 12 eons. All of them point to the same architecture hidden in the human being. The 12-strand DNA activation. What is the meaning of it? The emotional awakening, shadow integration, trauma release, soul memory returning, intuitive clarity, creative force and sovereignty, the balance of masculine and feminine, multi-dimensional perceptions, timeline awareness, connection to the higher self, and the embodiment of truth. This is the activation. Nothing mystical about it, just becoming whole again. So we have the 12 principles. But with a lot of things, it reminds me of a 13th. We know the Baker's Dozen. We know the 13th. In movies, the mysticism, everyone in hotels removes the 13th number from floors because they've tarnished it as being haunted. But the 13th is never spoken about plainly because it's not a strand, not a deity or a force. It is the axis around which all the 12 revolve. And I'll reveal it clearly to you. The hidden 13th principle. In every tradition it has a different name, as it always does, but it has the same function. The monad in Gnostics, the axis mundi in Shamanic, the all-mother, all-father, we've heard that before. The unmoved mover, Aristotle, the primordial one in Chinese, the 0 point, the crown, we hear it as the crown chakra, the void womb, and the uncreated light. It's always the same concept, but a different name. The 13th is the unifying consciousness that makes the 12 possible. It is not in the system. It is the awareness of the system. It is the field that the 12 expressions operate within. But what is it exactly? If the 12 strands are seen as instinct, emotion, intuition, lineage, shadow, sovereignty, healing, memory, creation, perception, spirit, and unity, then the 13th is the observer of them all. It is the part of you that was never programmed, was never traumatized, was never divided, was never born, and shall never die. It is the original consciousness behind the human form. It is the self before the self. It is the awareness that sits behind experience like the still point behind a spinning wheel. Well, you may ask, why is it hidden? Because the system, the internal and external matrix, depends on humans identifying with the 12 expressions, not the one who watches them. The moment a person identifies with the 13th principle, fear collapses, programming dissolves, hierarchy loses meaning, duality becomes choice, not illusion. Control systems stop working, you become self-governing, sovereign, and unmanipulable. We hear a lot about that, about observing your thoughts, observing this, observing that, being the observer to what is happening. This comes into my thought, is that mine? It is the 13th principle. And the feminine aspect of that is the 13th principle is neither masculine or feminine. It is unity before gender. But its creative face has always been represented as feminine. Sophia before fragmentation, Nuwa before the mending, Shakti before movement, Isis before her name, Tiamat before division, the Great Mother before form. But the masculine side to the 13th. The same truth has a masculine face also. The unborn father, the monad, the source light, Brahma, Atum, the silent witness. Two faces to the one essence. The 13th isn't gender-based, it is unity consciousness prior to polarity. But in you, the 13th represents the part of you that remembers all your incarnations, watches your thoughts, guides your destiny, whispers intuition, connects you to the all, knows your path before you walk it, and cannot be deceived. So when people say awaken, this is what they're referring to. Not a leveling up or a vibration higher type mentality. It is a remembering of what and who you are. And that concludes my 3-part feminine series, where I've guided through 12 archetypes of female traits, the suppression from wounded masculinity into suppressing the female so men do not raise it within themselves, that women fear that and allow men control. This is powerful information that joins the dots. If you take into what society teaches you, different gurus or different people, they highlight fragments of this. But the fact that every culture has the same beginning, has the same birth giver, it doesn't matter. You can go in all cultures now and look at their actual teachings are similar as well. But all of it is suppression to a one God or a he God. And they live that life. And when you look at people today, there is no feminine culture within it. And those who are, as we've gone through, trying to suppress this information and rule the masculine because it is wounded and there is a void or a vacuum, it just highlights the very points that we are trying to make. If more people and men understood what this meant, we would have a more peaceful world. And to be honest, that is all we really want to have. A world of unity, peace, growth, and love and abundance. So that is why I share this, so that it doesn't get lost. Or it reawakens in some, or just passes people's time. But thank you for joining me on this journey, and I wish you the best of time and the happiest of days. So it is with that, I leave you with peace and love. Take care.